So in this video, I want to give you a couple of takeaways that I learned from being a nerdy, introverted code monkey engineer to taking my first 100 SMMA sales calls and the things I learned from it, right? So my first couple of calls, given with no background in sales at all, what I usually see people doing and what I did myself in the beginning was very prospecting, demo, and then closing, right? So for the prospecting, what I was currently doing is basically just trying to build rapport, trying to ask where they're coming from, tell me a little bit more about your business, where are your leads coming from, where you're trying to go. It's very surface level problems, right? The thing is, in the initial prospecting process, you should be spending at least 80% of the entire call on the prospecting. If we don't understand their problems, there's no point in even hopping into a demo. For me, prospecting was maybe 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and then I go straight into a demo. And then demo is the same pitch every single time. I said the same exact thing, but we should really tailor our pitch to the prospect's problems, right? If they use Angie's List in the past and they said Angie's List has sucked, and that's the only thing they've used, we need to dive into that in the demo. Let's say they used another marketing agency in the past. In the prospecting questions, we really try to dive in on why that market agency didn't work out for them, right? So, and then even in the closing, I was very, I guess, a person pleaser. Whenever they told me objection, I just trusted that they're telling me the right thing. They said they need to think about it. I'm like, oh yeah, that's totally fine. And then I hop off the call, only to follow up with them, and I just get ghosted, right? So from there, took a couple of sales calls, did a couple of sales training, especially with Jeremy Miner and also Bill Walsh, right? So in the prospecting, really it's to get down to the pain point of how can you bridge the gap between where they are and where we can help them get to, right? So really it's about asking what they've tried, and this whole entire building rapport thing, like asking about the weather, asking where they eat in a certain city, telling them that you've been to that city is, I would say, as a human, like you want to build connection, but in sales, it doesn't bring you closer to bridge the gap of actually closing them, right? You need to be viewed as an expert in your field to really bridge that gap of building rapport and them respecting your expertise in a certain subject, right? So frame is probably the most important part. You should be taking over the conversation and driving the questions instead of really just sitting back and letting them control the conversation, right? So really it's about seeing what they've tried, where they're currently at. Let's say they're at 2 to 3 installs per month. They want to get to 4 to 6. How can we really bridge that gap, right? And understanding what they tried in the past with Angie's List in the demo, we can then use that as ammo to really convert them, right? And then also, if they work with another marketing agency, it's really about diving deeper into why it didn't work, right? Let's say another marketing agency. I see a bunch of marketing agencies out there that do Facebook ads, and your agency that does Facebook ads, right? And they say they work with them, it didn't work in the past. So really, you try to ask them like what sort of ads were they currently running, or I guess after the lead comes in, was there any follow up sequence? Was anybody calling up the leads, or were they just sending it directly over to you? That way, whenever they say the lead quality is bad, lots of leads, but none of them are qualified, we could get down to the pain point of what necessarily means like an unqualified lead, right? And what would be a qualified lead in your eyes. So really getting to that specifics, like it's not more so how many questions we ask, it's more so how deep do the questions go. If they say the leads were bad, we really try to go deeper and deeper into why the leads are bad and what sets yourself apart from what they worked with in the past. And also, I guess, a sense of urgency as well, right? So really just trying to see if they don't do anything to change their situation, will they get to their goals of doubling their amount of revenue per year, right? For me personally, I don't like to dive into any personal, like what would that do for your family? But really, what would that do for your business? Would that give you more time with your kids? Or like, what's the goal? Like, why do you want to double your business, right? it's like very surface level. I like to just understand a little bit of that. But with most business owners, they're pretty logical. So whenever you can break down the numbers, especially when they say, we're currently at 20K, but I want to get a 40K. In the demo, we could have temperature checks where you said, I guess, how do you feel about the system? Do you think it can get you to that 40K per month mark? I guess rate it from 1 to 10. How do you feel? Right. In the demo, we use all the ammunition that we collected in the prospecting in order to pitch the demo. Right. So I would say 85% of the entire call, probably 80 to 85% of the entire call is won in the prospecting. The demo's only 10%, and then the closing is maybe another 10%, right? So 80, 10, 10. So with the prospecting, you can also handle all of the pre-objections. Like in the end of a call, you're going to deal with objections. Most of the time, it's not always going to be a laydown, but you really have to, I guess, deal with some pre-objection handling, right? For me, let's say they have another business owner. I would say something like, just so that we don't leave anybody outside of the party, is there anyone else that we want to invite onto this call? That way no one feels left out. That's one thing that you could just say in case they say they have a business owner or they need to talk to their wife, right? And then going into that, in the demo, there should always be temperature checks to see how your prospect is responding to the demo and seeing if the demo even makes sense. It could be as simple as, does that all make sense to you, or how do you feel? Really just making sure that they're engaged, right? Stop me at any time if you have any questions regarding our process. I'll be happy to dive into our process a little bit more if you have any questions, right? And then whenever it comes to the closing, these are the objections you're probably going to get the most, and this is where it separates a mediocre salesperson to a really high-level salesperson, right? So objections, it's mostly, I need to think about it. I need to talk to my business partner. I need to talk to my wife. If that's pre-handled before, you could say, previously you mentioned that you didn't really have a business partner. So I guess whenever you talk to your business partner, is it more so out of respect, or is it more so asking for permission, right? So this could go for both ways, to either talking to their wife or business partner, right? And then another thing is like the fee is too expensive. And then another thing might be send me some referrals from the past, right? So the fees are too expensive. You could always be like, yeah, absolutely, totally understand. But if, I guess, fee aside, everything aside, do you think the system can get you to that 40K per month mark? And then they'll start justifying, like, yeah, I believe so. If they say I believe so, obviously they're not sold on the system. If they say, yeah, I can, then you dive in deeper, right? And what about the system do you think can get you to that 40K per month mark? And they'll start justifying themselves. So most of the time, if it's the fees, I would say, like, we don't want the fee to be a stickler of what could have been. So if it were to help you out, totally fine on my end. I could definitely just divide that into 2 payments if it were to help you out. Would that help you out? Just really dive in deeper. If it's really the fee thing and you can provide results and you want to get them in the door, right? We want them to be committed to the process, even if it's taking a little bit of a deposit, working for free, get them in the door, or it's more so splitting up the payment, right? So really, the entire sales process is a very logical process. If it's something like send me referrals, you could definitely send them referrals of clients you dealt with in the past. But I'll say most of the time, send me referrals. I need to think about it. I need to talk to my business partner. The fee is too expensive. Every objection comes down to either trust or logistics, right? So I need to think about it. They don't trust you. I need to talk to my wife. They don't trust you. The fee is too expensive. They don't trust you that you can provide the results. Send me some referrals. They don't trust you. Really, 90% of the time, you're going to get a trust objection. They don't trust that you can provide the results. And then logistics would be more so that they're moving states, maybe, right? They're trying to get registered in another state to do service there. It might be they need to set up insurance to cover their workers, but 10% of the time there'll be a logistic objection, probably even lower, 5% of the time. So really what I've learned from being an introverted engineer to really closing sales calls is really to dive in deeper into the problems. And one trait that I really see is having the trait of curiosity, right? It's more so of just trying to figure out the problem, really problem solving with them to try to get them to the goal of 40K per month, and like what's really holding them back from getting that 40K per month mark, right? Something like if you were to do it, I guess if you were to bring, is this something you want to bring in house to really get you to that 40K per month mark? And other things is if they don't believe the system can work, no matter what the price is, like there's no point if they're not committed to the process, right? So this is everything I really learned from being an introverted engineer. I'm not a sales guy. I never came from a sales background, but it's more so just understanding human nature and trying to problem solve with the clients to get to their goals. So yeah, just try out these processes. I highly recommend German Minor. Although with German Minor, the NEPQ system is very based on tonality, right? So if you say something in the wrong tone, they might perceive it as passive aggressive. But with Bill Walsh, the objection box is very good in terms of just handling all the objections logically. Because I would say most of the time, if they hop off the call and they say they'll think about it, they're not going to respond back to you. Maybe 10% of the clients will actually get back to you, but you really need to frame it to really pre-handle the objections prior. That way, they have no concern in their minds or no unknown variables in their minds to pick y'all over some other agency. And yeah, that's all for this video. It's a very, I guess, messy, but I just wanted to get my thoughts out there to help some of the beginners in sales to really understand the process, right? Because questioning the aspect of curiosity is very important in sales, and more so connecting whatever they said their goals are to the demo and really handling the objections, right? Because if they don't believe the system can work, they're not going to get back to you. If they believe the system can work and it's something minute and something that they actually need to talk to their business partner about to get their permission to get them on board, most of the time it's a trust objection, but there's sometimes that's not a trust objection, right? So yeah, hope this video helped you out. Yeah, and let's get out there and close some deals. All right, take care.